Eve paints.
Hello, I'm Keith Carnage, and welcome to my tabletop. Today, we're taking a look at these overmagnetized Space Marine heroes that I've painted. This is my first kit bash. The goal is to make better, more representative models for my kill teams. I've used 4 different Space Marine heroes, as well as bits from a veteran squad of some sort, and a power sword and a plasma gun from Mark III Space Marines. Brother Sergeant Sevastus comes with a chainsword and a grav pistol, but a tactical marine sergeant can carry so much more. Now, he can carry one of 4 combi weapons, or a bolt gun in his right hand, and switch out his chainsword for a power sword, a bolt pistol, an auspex, or a pointing finger. For the combi bits, I used these tiny 0.5mm thick by 1mm diameter magnets, double stacked in a couple places, but only in a couple places because it was only an accident that I discovered that double stacking them works much better. In doing it again, I think I would double stack the 2 magnets in the main body, and then single stack all the magnets in the combi bits, if I was trying to save magnets. All the other magnets in these models are 1mm thick and have a 2mm diameter. This is Brother Garrus. He normally carries a classic looking bolt gun in his left hand, and is aiming a scoped bolt pistol in his right hand. I cut off the weapons and put the bolt pistol in the left hand and replaced the right arm with one holding a plasma gun. And this is Brother Castor's body with another Brother Garrus's arms. That's why he looks a little bit funny. He was supposed to carry my auspex, then I realized that it's regular intercessors that get to carry auspexes, not regular tactical marine. I guess they're just not smart enough. Confusingly, even a Stern Guard veteran can't figure out how to use a damn auspex unless they're a sergeant. I guess I could run Brother Sergeant Sevastus as a Stern Guard sergeant, and Brother Castor as a TAC sergeant. I'm not sure yet. I'm just glad they're done. I also tried out these new brushes I got off Amazon. The tips curled. Not very impressed. I start with the red parts. When I first conceived of this paint scheme, I had never painted a Space Marine before. I do still like the layout, but I think I made it unnecessarily hard on myself. So, Imperial Lions are ultramarine blue with red thighs, pauldrons, and round bits on the exhaust vents. I start with Mephiston red. This usually takes 3 to 4 coats to get right. Next, I paint Carroburg crimson into all the recesses. I layer on some Evil Sunz scarlet as a thick edge highlight, and then use Wild Rider red as a thinner edge highlight. After quickly touching up the Macragge blue, and painting all the hands and stuff that I didn't bother spraying, I gave it a recess wash with Drakenhof Nightshade. Next I used Calgar blue for a thick edge highlight, and Rust Grey for a thinner edge highlight. I think these are the first Marines I've ever used Rust Grey on, and in the past I've always used Calgar blue just as a thin edge highlight. I had a lot of trouble getting the consistency of the Calgar blue right, and I wasn't very happy with the paint job at this point. I didn't feel I made as many outright mistakes as other times, like painting highlight directly into a recess. Less instances of quickly clearing my brush so I can wipe away a mistake I made, that sort of thing. But the thick Calgar blue highlights didn't look right, and I did go back and make them thinner with Macragge blue in a few spots. Probably not enough spots though. Though, with the Rust Grey, I got to do the really easy highlights that I'm starting to get pretty good at, just with the edge of your brush. So at least that was satisfying. The next biggest job is metallics. Imperial Lions have a Balthazar Gold trim, and Balthazar Gold will always require 2 coats, unless you're painting it over something like Lead Belcher. So when I base coat my metals, I just base coat them all with Lead Belcher. Aquillas, skulls, pauldron trim, weapons, helmets, backpack bits, and so forth. There are a lot of little metal bits. Then the pauldron trim and the Aquila wings got the Balthazar Gold as a second coat. I give metals a double wash with Nuln Oil and Agrax Earthshade, and then I highlighted the metal with Ironbreaker and the gold with Retributor Armor. I think in the past I used Runefang Steel to highlight my silver metals, and the Ironbreaker isn't quite as bright as the Runefang Steel, and I didn't see as much difference between the Leadbelcher and the Ironbreaker, so in the future I will definitely go back to Runefang Steel. With the Retributor Armor, I took a shot at giving the pauldron trim double highlights, and was actually surprised that I managed to do alright. I'm now much more satisfied with these models. Just having the metal on there makes them look really good, but being able to get the double highlights on the pauldron trim made me feel good about myself. After finishing the metal, I went back to blacks. Imperial Lions have black boots, belts, inner belt buckles, and these little things on the backpack, in addition to the other parts I already painted, like this recess here and a ring around the exhaust. Why do I paint all these bits black? Because that is how the original one I painted looked, and now they just don't look right without it. Also, their weapons are black, and this little bit on this guy's head here. Next, I moved on to leather. I used Rhinox hide to base coat leather for pouches, holsters, and 2 weapon straps. To highlight the leather, I mix in a bit of Bugman's Glow with the Rhinox hide. Purity seals and bits of scrollwork on the Sergeant's armor are base coated with Rakarth flesh, then shaded with Agrax Earthshade and highlighted with a bit more Rakarth flesh. I painted the wax seals with Screamer pink, then attempted some tiny little dots for writing on the papers. I also attempted writing on the scrollwork of the Sergeant's leg. It took a couple tries, but I think it's pretty clear I nailed that one. The eyes definitely took a few tries as well. I suck at eyes still, so what I resort to is this. Paint it white, then shade it with Carroburg Crimson. It works well enough. I snuck in some Death Guard green on the frag grenades and shaded them with Agrax Earthshade, and also hit the wax on the Purity seals with Agrax at the same time. To highlight black, I used Mechanicus Standard Grey. The highlights on 4 of the 6 boots kinda suck, but the last pair did alright. Some of the weapons turned out better than others. I'm only willing to go back and fix so much. Painting all 4 combi bits on one piece got to be a little much. Some of the center ones were difficult to reach. In the future, I think 2 bits per corp will probably be my limit. I also touched a lot of corners on the weapons with Dawnstone. For lenses, I use Mephiston Red, Evil Sun's Scarlet, Wild Rider Red, and Fire Dragon Bright, with just a dot of White Scar for the larger lenses. I'm definitely getting better at doing lenses. This is my first Auspex screen. I only have Caliban Green and Warpstone Glow, so I mixed the 2 of them together to make a third color that kinda makes a bit of blur on the screen with more of a solid line with the Warpstone Glow. I'm actually pretty happy with how it turned out. I'm getting a little tired at this point. I gave myself 3 days to finish, and I got distracted on days 1 and 2. I guess I didn't think I had so much to finish on day 3. I should have gone on to day 4, but I really wanted to finish it tonight. So everything after this is somewhat silly of me. It's also a little bit out of order for the sake of presentation. I went back and forth between these things a little bit. This is not my first plasma weapon, but it is in this color. I started with Calgar Blue, and really liked how it looked, so I shaded it with some Drakenhof Nightshade, and I didn't like how it looked. I tried highlighting the coils, but it just wasn't happening today. After retrying, I painted them white, with the idea that I would use a wash of Calgar Blue, which would hopefully settle in the recesses, leaving white on the raised coils. But in the end, it kinda looks like overpainted crap. Cut, print it, moving on. Grav weapons get Warpstone Glow in a couple of recesses. Nice. So, let's move on to faces. I base coat with Bugman's Glow, then get done with the hard to reach parts like eyes and inside the mouth. The mouth gets Abaddon Black and Mephiston Red for the tongue. and eyes get white scar with a dot of Abaddon black for the pupils. I gave the faces a very tiny recess wash with Agrak's Earthshade, then layered on Bugman's Glow mixed with Cadian Flesh Tone, pure Cadian Flesh Tone, Cadian mixed with Kislev Flesh, and then pure Kislev Flesh. I'm actually impressed that I didn't screw this up terribly. The 5-step ramp for flesh is something new I tried for this project, and I think it did alright, despite leaving it to the end when I was tired. The only power weapons I've painted in the past, I chickened out of trying any effects on, but not today. Let's try lightning. Not sure what colors to use, but I have Calgar Blue and White Scar. And this brush sucks at pin highlights. Screw it, let's go blue to white blend. We can wet blend, right? Okay, so this looks like overpainted garbage too, but it's magnetized, which means it's optional. I don't have to show anybody if I don't want to. Oh, and the handles. Make the handles red. Okay, we're done. Finally. Put the palette away. Crap! I forgot hair and head armor bits. Macragge blue, Abaddon black neckpiece, Rhinox hide for the hair, White Scar beard, Mr. Purity seal. Now, finally done. I sprayed them with Munitorum varnish because, being magnetized, I figured they could use a little bit extra protection from being handled regularly. Final thoughts. Painting these guys wasn't terrible. I didn't give myself enough time, as usual. This was my first time magnetizing arms, and getting them centered was a little bit tricky, resulting in some kind of ugly backs that will never be seen. And drilling out wrists is kind of difficult if you don't have the right size drill bit, and you have to use a knife to dig it out to the right size. That got pretty iffy. I've definitely improved in some areas, and I got to try new things, which I will definitely improve on in the future. I could strip a couple parts, they are magnetized, but I'd rather move forward than move back. I have the Dark Imperium box set to finish, which has another power sword, and 5 more plasma guns to paint, so look forward to that in the future. So what do you think of my magnetized Marines? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.